Hey everybody, I'm Lauren Kalil with Morning Chalk Up, and today we are here with Games athlete Emma Cary. She just got back from the Rogue Invitational. A lot of exciting things going on in your life. How are you doing, Emma?
I am doing amazing, learning so much just from every step on the journey, um, and getting more and more excited about my future with everything I've learned.
Well, and I think it's just amazing because now, as spectators, as fans, as commentators, we really have been able to see you come to the forefront, which seems so quickly as you're on the field with some of the athletes with maybe a little bit more experience in the individual category. But let's even take it back further to, once you got invited to the Rogue Invitational, what were some of the first thoughts that you had?
Gratitude was the biggest, just for another opportunity because I love to compete, but also it never really goes how I expect it to. At least so far. Hopefully, like one day, and I do believe one day it will. Um, but up until this point, there have been so many areas exposed in every competition I've ever done that I need to work on. And like that's not always fun to feel that way at the competition floor. But it's the best information you can have going forward in training. So I was just grateful to be able to go out on the floor and learn more this time. Um, and also have another opportunity to show the improvements from the games because that was such an awesome experience. But there was a lot of disappointment just because I did not perform near as well as I thought I would.
Mm.
Um, but that was exactly what I needed to happen. And really, same thing at Rogue. Like, it was not the finish I wanted, but exactly what needed to happen. So I know what I can do better going forward.
Just I mean, we're only, 2 minutes into the interview and already I can't believe how mature you are and your mindset. And I mean, try to think of what I was like when I was 17 years old, and there is no way that I was thinking the way you were. So it's so fascinating. Where have you gotten that mindset and being able to maybe take something that on the surface looks negative and totally flip it to give yourself power to keep training and almost do better every time?
I think having an amazing team of people that I can talk to and share my real feelings with, um, because I don't always feel positive, but I have an awesome just group of people I'm surrounded by, like my coach, my family, other athletes who I can really just vent to and be like, this is what's wrong, this is how I feel. Um, but my coach, Matt, especially, can be like, well, this is what we learned from that. And even though it didn't go how we wanted it to, like, that's what we need going forward. So now I can see that. And especially like looking over my career so far, which is funny to say because I don't feel like I can. But even when I was competing as a teen and had some disappointments, at the time it just seemed like the end of the world.
Mm.
But looking back on it, it's like that's what I needed to do better in the next event and to have more fire that I trained with and more lessons that I trained with. And I can look back and see now that those disappointments brought me to where I am today. And I can only assume that the disappointments I might feel today will bring me to where I want to be tomorrow.
And that's just it, because watching you grow in this sport, I think is going to be so amazing because you're still so young. Your career is so far spread. When you think about, 5 years from now and even 10 years from now, you have this mindset now that's only going to set you up for even more success in the future.
Thank you.
So taking home 12th place at the Rogue Invitational, I watched all weekend long, and my favorite moment of you was during that Bella Complex. Your celebration, just like you had this intensity in your face, but as soon as you hit the final lift and got that barbell over your head, it was just like a complete facial expression change. Walk me through, from the moment that you decided what you were going to lift on the barbell to, the whole strategy and having it happen. What was that whole moment like for you?
Yeah, it was. an amazing moment. Definitely one of my top competition moments ever. Plan was 227, 232, 237. Everything felt great in the warm-up area, felt strong, got out on the floor, and failed the clean of 227. And it was like, wow, that was exactly what was not supposed to happen. Um, but like stuff like that will just happen. And even though I wasn't expecting it to happen, like I knew it could, and I
Mm,
knew the only option was just get up and do it this time. So like I learned from, like I knew why I'd missed that lift, and so I learned from it. It felt amazing when I got it, um, and it just gave me much more of a focus on each lift. It wasn't like, I mean, you can't be thinking about the jerk whenever you're doing the clean. So that was a big takeaway I had from that event. 232 felt even better.
mm.
And 237 was like, that was a PR clean and jerk. Um, but I knew I had it with how it had been feeling. I stood up the clean, and I don't know how I saw this or how I noticed this, but I saw somebody right in front of me in the crowd just jumping up and down. And I'm like, that is my mom. Like, I was 100% sure that was her. Um, and then, like, it just felt like training, because my mom is usually there to encourage me and just support me when I train. And it took all of the negative pressure and nerves away, and it was just like, I can do this, I've got this. Like, I have, even though I've never clean and jerked this before, I know this, like, this feels just like it would in training. And then to be able to execute after not such a great start felt so good, and that's what I was most proud of from that event. Like, not just the amount of weight lifted, and then I had to wave at my mom just to make sure she knew that I saw her. um, so that was even more of a highlight just because of how much I've struggled with strength events in the past. I have worked so hard on strength. It's been my biggest focus since starting with my coach Matt almost 2 years ago. Um, and I always knew that I would be at this point. Like, I always believed it. But then to actually get there because of my hard work and the hard work of everybody around me feels amazing. Like, there's really just no words.
So, I mean, did you know in the moment that you were gonna go for something that was, not just a PR clean and jerk, but a double PR because it was a complex, not just the clean and jerk. You had the front squat, and the overhead again as well.
Yeah, it had been a while since I tested my clean and jerk, and I figured I've cleaned this before, I've jerked this before, never been able to put it together. But now, like, if it's going to happen, right now is the best time for it to. So I just went out with the mindset, like, let's see how well I can do. And I was aware of what everyone else was lifting, but I knew I couldn't let that influence me. I just had to put a weight on the bar I knew I could hit, um, and then just believe it the whole time. Like, no matter how heavy it felt, I just believed it and I did it.
Yeah, you did. Add a new PR to that, to the list, you know? Um, when it comes to looking at the big picture of the Rogue Invitational, is there any other events that you really enjoyed or maybe you thought would be tougher and then, you tackled it in a way that that surprised yourself almost?
Yeah, I had big takeaways from every event. The first one was such an awesome way to start. I believe I got eighth, which is not the best finish ever. But I really struggled with the rope climb event at the games. Like, I think it was 4 rope climbs, and people were getting off when I was at 2.5 rope climbs. And I was like,
Mm,
wow, like, I did not even know it was possible to do rope climbs that fast. And
mm.
it sounds kind of funny to say, um, but I was just not always mentally prepared for what I needed to do because I hadn't been preparing that way in training. Like, I was doing my very best in training, but I just thought you had to take rest before rope climbs. I thought you had to take rest before like pegboards. And then to see what other people were able to do out there really showed me like I can do that too. I just need to start taking those risks in training. And to see that improvement, like even though it's not just a great finish, it's a much better finish than what I had at the games. So that's one of my favorite moments from the weekend. Another one was the Echo Bike Thruster event.
Ooh, yeah. That
I
looked spicy.
I knew very strong on the Echo Bike. Knew I was very strong at thrusters. I did not fully expect to be the first off the bike. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm going to win this event. And then I started the thrusters and I was like, I did one and I was like, wow, that was really hard. Maybe they'll feel better as I go. And they never did feel better. Really got to failure. Not just like it was hurting and I dropped the bar. Like I got to where I could not keep doing thrusters, lost several spots, and I believe finished in 6th on that one. So even though like it kind of hurt to drop from 1st to 6th over the course of that event, I was so proud of my effort. And I was just so proud of how hard I was able to go with no fear. Like that's how I train too. Like I might have a 5-round piece and with like 5 minutes between sets, and I'm like, oh, I sprint this. Just how well I'm able to sprint every round, hurt so bad every time, but not be afraid of that. And then just to see how well that effort level carried over to competition. And like one of the hashtags that I use is I want this the most. Is I do believe that success in this sport really does come down to who's going to fight harder. And of course, there's a lot of fitness involved in that too. Um, but whenever you find like your limits, not really even considering who is around you, whenever you are like at that point and then you choose to go just a little bit harder, eventually you're going to succeed. And like this time I mean, it wasn't quite the outcome I wanted, but I was so proud just of the place I was able to go to during that event. And then there were some lower moments that I was not expecting to struggle so much. But just more information on what I need to work on and the big areas and even just some little areas that I can improve in. So even those moments that are painful at the time, like looking back, even just a couple weeks later, I can be so grateful for them.
And I think right now is such a cool time for you because you have the ability to really experiment and see where you can full send and really push it and experiment. Have you ever had like a specific workout or maybe even in training where you do the opposite where you want to pace it and then finish strong? Or is it always the mindset that you're going to attack this and just hope that you can hang on for as long as possible?
Actually, I think that's like a really great question because the mule workout with the deadlift and burpee pull-ups, I feel like I kind of did the opposite. I was a
Mhm.
little too conservative on the 21 and the 15. And then I got to the 9 and I just felt like I had so much left to give. Um, and I did. Like I was able to finish strong. I think even pass a couple of people in the 9, which is not the situation I'm usually in. Um, but that was just such a different feeling to have so much left to give at the end. And that's something that I'm working on in training and in competition is being more intentional with finding like a balance between those two events. Not when I go too hard in the beginning and then just can't sustain it in the end, or just a little too slow in the beginning and have so much left to give by the end, but by then it's really too late. Um, I'm doing a lot better with finding a balance of not just of saying like, yeah, I gave all of the effort I possibly could have in this workout, because that's worth a lot. But also being able to say that was my very best strategy and my very best execution I could possibly have. I've definitely had a lot more moments um, that didn't really reflect my fitness just because of not having the best strategy, especially at the Granite Games and the games. And every time I compete, I see improvements in that aspect too.
So now when you have all of this data from, Granite Games to the games to the Rogue Invitational, we have a couple months until the open season starts. With all of that data, what have you and your coach Matt been working on to prepare you for the upcoming season?
Um, Everything. I feel like we have such a good balance of working on my strengths and also a lot of work on my weaknesses. Um, a lot of upper body pushing since Rogue, like strict handstand push-ups, muscle ups, and then a lot of accessory work that just goes along with that. Obviously, trying to get me physically better there, but also trying to help me understand really where my body is at and when I can push and when I push. Um, because sometimes I feel like I should feel this, then I just have these expectations that are actually harmful because I'm trying to execute the workout like how I expected it to be, not like what it actually is. Um, so that is something where it is just so important to be intentional in training, not just go through the motions, not just even give my best effort physically, but also to pay attention to how my body is feeling and like be able to be like, wow, that rep was kind of a fight. Maybe I can do one more and then I'll fail. Maybe I can do two more and then and then now I kind of understand, like, especially since the games and since Rogue, I think one of my biggest mental breakthroughs in training has been like identifying the point in several movements that it's like, okay, I have about 2 or 3 reps in the tank before I fail. Failed a lot on the competition floor, and that is usually not the best strategy. So being able to stop, take a quick break right before that, and then just able to trust my body and trust my strategy has been a big thing we're worked on.
And so when you look at the upcoming season, I imagine that you're just going to start ramping up training, get more volume under your belt, or, what does it look like from now up until March when the open starts?
I am competing in Dubai and then in Wadapalooza, and then I'll have the open. Um, so really, though, the focus is on the 2022 games, just being the best games athlete I can by that point. Like, even this year, we did not train for the open. Like, I'm already really strong with like open style tests.
Mhm.
Um, so what we really work on year round is stuff that we will probably only see at the games, like pegboard or yoke carry or farmer carry. Um, and even though this is kind of, I don't know if I would really consider it an off season time. Um,
It doesn't sound like an off-season time for you.
uh, Even though like in the open we might not be seeing swimming, like I still keep that as a priority in my training, so I'm ready for it at the games. So I am really just taking the data from past events, and we have a few new priorities, like smaller priorities, that we add to the big priorities, which one of them is still getting stronger and getting more powerful. Um, and then just working on that and not so much letting myself be distracted by feeling like I need to work on everything all at one time. Kind of how Matt has described it to me is like we're just layering stuff on right now. Like we have
Mhm.
a foundation and now we're just building over here a little bit in one area, and we're still building the other areas, just maybe not as much as a different area. Um, and I'm just trusting the process because it's paid so well in the past. And every time I learn more, I think it's going to pay off even more.
Yeah, and even with doing like you said, Dubai and Wadapalooza before the open season starts, that's just going to give you more data. But my question is, you're about to graduate high school in December and transition from this, student athlete into a full-time athlete. What is that going to be like for you?
I am so excited. I'm excited to have a lot more of my effort and my time and my focus to give to my training. Um, my school has, I don't want to say it's taken away from that, um, because CrossFit, I mean, a couple years ago, I made it my priority. Like, I saw how good I could be, but only if I was willing to go all in. Like, you can be good at a lot of different things, but you can't be great at a lot of different things. Um, but I mean, even with that being said, I have still prioritized school and just balanced everything the best that I could. And I'm so excited, though, not to have to do that anymore. I think it's still very, very freeing, because right now I feel like every minute of my life is either spent training, eating, sleeping, or doing homework. Um, and that's not, I don't think that's very sustainable. And to be able to actually chase this dream with truly all of me, not just the part of me that I have left, I think that will be a game changer for me. And moving to Florida to train full time with my coach and other training partners, that's just going to take all of us to the next level. Um, so I think even without those two big life changes, 2022 would be exciting. But whenever I think about those, like, I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, you have so many huge life changes that are happening from becoming that full-time athlete and making that. I mean, of course, as you said, it is your full-time priority right now, but just not having all of these other things on your to-do list to get done before you can fully dedicate yourself. But then also uprooting your life halfway across the country to the Naples area in Florida to train with your coach in person. What do you think that's going to do for the lead up to the next season? How important do you think it's going to be having that in-person connection?
I think that's huge. Maybe I think it's going to be even better than I think it will be, because of the immediate feedback I will be able to get. Not so much like send Matt maybe a snatch video and be like, here are my snatches today. They kind of felt off. And then sometimes by the time I would get a response, be able to really think about the response, I'm done snatching and I would have to wait
Mhm.
until next week to actually apply it. Um, so I think getting that just immediate feedback will lead to a lot better results in just day-to-day training, but also like big picture. And then just having training partners and being surrounded by like-minded people will be awesome. Just just for an extra push. Like I don't think that you should need training partners. Like I think that everything you should need to push yourself is already inside of you. Um, but just to have that and be able to learn from each other every day is going to be amazing. So even though the move itself will be pretty stressful, it's going to be so worth it.
And luckily, it really is all timing up. It's around December, right? That all of this is happening?
My plan is early January.
Early January. Okay, so you'll get done with Dubai and Wadapalooza.
Just Dubai.
Oh, just Dubai. Okay, so you'll get done with Dubai. You'll then travel to Florida, get situated, get adjusted to everything. The weather's a little bit different in Florida too, a little bit hotter than where you are now. And once you move there, do you and Matt have like a game plan for, if you're switching your timing of your training or if like some sessions are still going to be by yourself and others with training partners? How is that structure going to look? Have you talked about that yet?
Not in. a whole lot of detail like we've talked about it. Still planning on keeping my training times pretty consistent. Um, but like at the same time, sometimes when you compete, it's early in the morning, sometimes at night. So it might be good to hit all of those times sometimes. And as far as maybe doing some sessions alone, I think that could just depend on other factors like when people were available. Um, so I don't know specifically how that will look, um, but I'm just like all in to whatever it looks like.
Oh, that's gonna be so amazing. What a way to start the next season. When it comes to that next season, what what is your ultimate goal? Do you when you're looking at the structure, do you have a certain placement that you're looking for or like a certain benchmark for, certain movements that you want to see improvement or how do you define whether your season was successful or not?
My goal is always to win. Like I never go anywhere maybe just to get top 10 or get on the podium or just do my best. Like my heart always wants to win. Um, and I I can't let myself get caught up in focusing on that, because whenever I do, like, I would spend just the whole time at a competition feeling like I was failing, when instead I was actually showing a lot of improvements. And it's not like the improvements I showed at Rogue, they weren't as big of improvements as I wanted them to be, but they were definitely improvements. And that is so exciting. Um, so I think that ultimately for next year, I'm just going to take things event by event, and like see like okay, the rope climbs. I remember struggling with these at last year's games, and then even struggling a little bit at Rogue. Let's see how much better they've gotten this time. And if I mean, if you keep getting better, eventually you will get what you want. Um, so I think every time I compete, I just want to see improvement. And even though I want this improvement so badly and I want it all right now, one of my favorite quotes, I believe it's from Justin Sua, success is made in a slow cooker, not in a microwave. Um, so it's so easy. Um, just even sometimes to be discouraged because I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm also not where I used to be. And
Mhm.
just to look back and see how much I've improved has me so excited for the future. And it's not an option to have everything I want right now. Like, there is no way I could have that. Like, either quit or keep going and believe that I'll get it someday. And like when you put it like that, the answer is so obvious and it's like just keep going, just keep doing.
I mean, and even when you think about food, it tastes way better when it's in the slow cooker than a microwave.
Yeah, that is so true. And I'm just learning so much along the way, growing so much as an athlete and also as a person, just being better in all aspects of my life, like for myself and also for the people around me. And like sometimes I just have to take a step back and be like, I'm proud of the athlete I am right now, but even more, I love who I'm becoming.
Oh, we love who you're becoming too. It's so great to see you out there and even speaking with you, you just seem like an incredible person with the mindset of a warrior and you're here to play and that's what's so cool to see when you hit the competition floor.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you have so many cool things coming up. The move, graduating high school. Do you have any plans to, any college plans in the future, even if it's not immediate?
Definitely not immediately. That, like all through high school, that was just really up until last year, that was my, that was just what you did. But seeing that I found what I love and found what I want to be all in, like I don't think I could ever find anything else, any other career that makes me feel this way. And I am just supported by people and companies where I am able to pursue this. And like that won't last forever. I could always go back to college, but I can't always chase these dreams. Um, and I don't think I would ever regret taking this risk. So, not immediately, maybe someday, just going to see where this takes me.
Oh, and we're all excited to see where it takes you. If people were worried about you last year, now you're becoming a full-time athlete instead of student athlete. So people got to keep their eye on you and watch out because you're coming.
Yeah,
Well, Emma, thank you so much for your time. We're so excited to see all the success that you have, and we look forward to seeing you next in Dubai.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Good luck.